It is, of course, Ariel, the task of the leaders, of national leaders, but there also is an element of people-to-people ties in the Abraham Accords and in their development, and we see that at all levels of Israeli society, for that matter, at all levels of Emirati, Bahraini, Moroccan, and potentially in the future Sudanese societies as well. And certainly it behooves this process to have a parliamentary component, so it's certainly appropriate that there is a forum in the Israeli Parliament building you see behind me that brings together people of various political hues behind the consensus issue that is the Abraham Accords, because, Ariel, it's not too often that figures from the Trump administration walk into the room and are consensus figures. But when it comes to the Abraham Accords and when it comes to Israel and the Abraham Accords and in parts of the Arab world in the Abraham Accords, they certainly are. And I think are rightly applauded for what they did and for this huge diplomatic achievement, which we are still feeling today and will potentially be feeling many, many years into the future.
We saw chairman of the opposition, Netanyahu, speaking there. Is he part of the lobby?
Listen, it's a lobby that takes into its grasp many, many parts of the Israeli parliament, people of many, many political hues. And that's, I think, the beauty, again, that it brings together people of many different political stripes. Because, again, this is a process that enjoys consensus support in Israel and an overwhelming majority in the vote in the Israeli parliament when this treaty was approved. And, again, it just shows that at least among the Jewish public in Israel, and, frankly, if you look at public opinion polls among the Arab public in Israel as well, these are accords that enjoy almost universal support.
Now, Owen, Angela Merkel, another topic that you're following today is the visit of Merkel in Israel that is concluding today. One thing that she chooses not to do is meet with Netanyahu, who is both chairman of the opposition and also a prime minister who worked with her for over a decade. What should we read in that?
It certainly stands out, Ariel, and it's widely understood here in Israel that this was not a coincidence. This was not simply because of scheduling reasons, although Mrs. Merkel's schedule was certainly packed, that this was by design. And the reporting is that not only did Merkel not want a meeting with Netanyahu, but Netanyahu did not want a meeting with Merkel, maybe harking back to differences of opinion that the two had. If you step back and look at this visit writ large, Ariel, over the course of the Netanyahu years, the Israeli brand became more and more attached to populist leaders, right? Whether it be, of course, Donald Trump in the United States, but also leaders in Europe like Viktor Orban and others. And now I think in the Bennett era, the Bennett-Lapid era, if you will, there's an effort to have a kind of course correction, right? Think back to Naftali Bennett's visit to the White House to meet Joe Biden and the warmth that you saw in the room there. Think about this visit with Angela Merkel and the warmth she bestowed on this Israeli government. And of course, with Angela Merkel, it's not only about this Israeli government or that Israeli government. It's about Israel. It's about the specialness of the German-Israeli relationship. And as long as Netanyahu was prime minister, of course, she came to Israel many, many times and met with him. But when he's not prime minister, I guess she didn't feel the obligation to go out and meet with him. And you know, Ariel, we don't like it when foreign leaders interfere in Israeli politics, or for that matter, when Israeli leaders interfere in politics abroad. But you do see an example like this, that on the margins, leaders do have some leeway. So, of course, Merkel, when she came in past visits, met with Yair Lapid, then opposition leader, doesn't return the favor to Netanyahu's opposition leader. So on the margins, in a symbolic move like a meeting as part of a visit, foreign leaders, it shows us, can play this game without having too much blowback.
Okay. Owen, thank you very much.